Now let's look at what really happens. What actually happens is that $100,000 was never there. Like I said, it was a couple of keystrokes that were keyed into a computer someplace. At the end of the day, the bank now, where it had nothing before, has $100,000.
Is this possible? Let's take a closer look.
Meet Don. He deposits $110,000 into his checking account at Bank A. Bank A then creates a demand deposit account to offset the $110,000 asset from Don. According to the banking textbook, Money and Banking, demand deposits are funds that customers may withdraw from banks with no advance notice, like your checking account. Bank A is a member bank of the Federal Reserve System, so it may participate in fractional reserve banking. This means that the bank must keep a percentage of its assets in reserve in case people want to withdraw their money. In 1980, legal reserve limits were reduced to almost zero. But many banks do keep about 5% in reserve. The rest can be used to create new loans. So, if Bank A keeps 5% in reserve, they can now loan over $100,000 of Don's original deposit. The Bradleys need $100,000 to purchase a house. So they sign Bank A's promissory note. The promissory note you sign is like an IOU. The Bradleys promise to make monthly payments in exchange for a loan from the bank. If they default on their promise, the bank will take their home. Bank A accepts their signed promissory note as an asset and creates a demand deposit account in the Bradleys' name. The Bradleys exchange their promissory note for a $100,000 check payable to seller Tom. Tom deposits the check in his bank, Bank B, and Bank A then transfers funds to Bank B. Using fractional reserve banking, Bank B may now exchange 95% of Tom's deposit for buyer Mary's promissory note for a $95,000 new home she wants to purchase. After receiving Mary's promissory note, Bank B, on buyer Mary's behalf, gives seller Bob a check for $95,000. Seller Bob deposits the check in his bank, Bank A. Before the Bradleys' initial loan, Bank A had Don's $110,000 deposit and Bank B had nothing. After the loans, Bank A has $205,000 in assets and $205,000 in demand deposit accounts, and Bank B has $100,000 in assets and $100,000 in a demand deposit account. The banking system has created $190,000 in new bank credit money as a result of the demand deposit accounts created from the two promissory notes. If they repeat the cycle a total of 10 times, the banking system creates over $800,000 in bank credit money that it did not have prior to the original $100,000 loan. With, say, an average interest rate of 6%, they make over $1 million in interest over 30 years and get paid back the principal in cash, even if they made the loans with credit money. If the bank sells the notes, they could make over $800,000 in cash from the credit created from your promissory note, all with minimal or no risk to the bank.
Some professionals question whether this is a fair practice and whether individuals are fully aware of the value that they bring to their own loan transaction.
What is your promise to pay?